watching an attempt by the people in charge to enslave the people they rule over. And you are, and it brings great sadness to acknowledge this, you are watching right now the people that, if you're watching this, you may have voted for, the president and the constellation of supporters around him, office holders around him, call for censorship. So here is Mark Levin's solution to America's greatest and most pressing problem from his perspective, which is criticism of the government of Israel. Here's what we should do about it, says Mark Levin.
The violence that is being preached on different broadcast platforms by different politicians, largely, not exclusively, largely Democrats, largely leftists, Marxist Islamists, although we have the woke Reich, R-E-I-C-H, is horrendous. And I believe is really, really adding fuel to the fire of hate out there and making it very, very difficult for a free people to even have a discussion about what they want or how they want it and so forth. And so it's not the first time things like this have happened, but it really is problematic because so much of it is protected. And you hear people say, don't you believe in the First Amendment? They don't even know what the First Amendment believes. Do you want to deplatform people? You know, the libs do that. I don't have any problem with deplatforming Nazis.
So he begins by saying that people who criticize the government of Israel are espousing violence. Now, this is coming from a guy who's literally called pretty recently on the air on Fox News for nuclear strikes against the government of Iran, who has relentlessly defended the murder of civilians by this and the Israeli government. So for this person to say that opponents of violence are actually the ones espousing violence is hilarious. You see Mark Levin saying people who criticize the government of Israel, and that is his, and to the extent there is one, the official definition of anti-Semitism is criticism of the government of Israel, the secular government of Israel, which is not supported by all Jews, that's for sure. But no matter, criticism of a foreign government is hate, tantamount to violence, is stochastic terrorism, the left might say. And Mark Levin, the right-wing MAGA guy, is saying those people should be silenced by the tech companies. But that's not censorship because somehow it's not. Well, that is exactly what Republicans, including Donald Trump, described as censorship when the last Democratic administration did it at scale during COVID. That is exactly what they were talking about when they said the Biden administration engages in censorship. And they were right. Telling tech companies, which are dependent on federal contracts, that they have to toe a political line is the same as banning speech because tech companies are the conduits through speech flows. So yes, that is censorship, legally and morally. And Mark Levin, who has positions that are shared by only a tiny percentage of the American population, and this is knowable through public opinion polling, is telling you that anyone who disagrees with him must be silenced. But he's just a weekend host on Fox News. Who cares what Mark Levin says? Well, as if on cue, Mark Levin's suggestion on Fox News has now been bolstered by an actual piece of legislation sponsored by Josh Gottenheimer, the Democrat from New Jersey, and amazingly, Republican MAGA stalwart Mike Lawler, two of the most florid and least ashamed neocons in the United States Congress, introduced legislation today to compel the tech companies to ban people who criticize Israel, the government of Israel, because that's hate. So what's the takeaway from all this? Well, the first takeaway is censorship is coming, and it will work unless people exercise their God-given and First Amendment guaranteed right to push back against it with words and do so at high volume without any shame at all. It's going to need a refusal to be intimidated by false claims of, quote, hate. And any Republican who voted for Donald Trump because he was sick of being told to shut up racist should join this chorus. No, you're not going to intimidate me into being quiet about the behavior of a foreign government that I pay for just because you call it hate. I'm not playing that game. Sorry, I voted against this and I'm going to stand on principle and fight it now no matter what. That's the first thing. But the second thing to know is that the motive here is dark. This is not how you would ever treat people you cared about. This is how you treat people you hate. people you have contempt for, who you find inconvenient, annoying, whose mere presence you find grating. You'd rather live next to Haitians under temporary protective status than next to birthright Americans who have these outmoded expectations of like a job and healthcare they can pay for in an emergency room that's not crowded with people who don't speak English. And I don't know, the right to say what they think, the right to complain about their leaders, even the right to complain about the behavior of a foreign country that they pay for. You have not done a good job running this country. You don't even care to try. You'd rather run the world or the empire. You don't want to improve Baltimore. You don't care about Gary, Indiana. Rural America makes you sick. As Bill Kristol said, all those coupon clippers and people just barely holding on. They should have asked this question when Trump got elected the first time. Why would you elect an orange guy who ran casinos in Atlantic City when there are all kinds of great candidates? Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz, you had a lot to choose from, but you chose Trump? A normal, reflective person would reach the only conclusion possible, which is because they're dissatisfied with me. And maybe I need to change and serve their needs better and listen to them once in a while and not dismiss them with the back of the hand or charges of bad motives or hate or censorship. And you should just know that at this point, now that that's not working out, they will not be mad at themselves. They're going to be mad at you for not liking it or appreciating it or for talking about it at all, or for holding on to your outdated expectations about what life in this country was like then and should be now. And above all, for the insistence that you have as a voter and an American that the people in charge should serve you, not just themselves and their families.
They always talk about censorship, and the Biden administration is the one that's censoring everybody. I personally, I'm going to be honest with you, under the Biden administration, I never felt censored. Never. Not one time. And Trump actually ran on, not censoring people. But since he's been president, I've been censored on TikTok probably 20 times. 20 times minimum. And that's not counting YouTube. What's crazy about it is Instagram was starting to go that way. They've dialed it back. So they're not censoring pretty much at all TikTok, Instagram. So right there, I'm happy with Instagram. But every time I post on TikTok, I'm always wondering, like, damn, is this gonna go out to anybody? Because it'll tell you when you go into the analytics, it'll say that this was the content has been blocked and they're not gonna show it past a certain feed. So there you have it with that. As far as Mark Levin, if people don't see what he's doing, he says a bunch of wild ass shit, but he's I'm not going to say he's smart. He's savvy. He just wants to keep his job. I don't think he believes half of the shit he says. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he thinks half of the shit he says is real shit. Because he's so ridiculous. I mean, bring out the nukes. It's like, come on, man. You do realize once you bring out the nukes, everybody has nukes. Then that means you're just opening it up for people to start dropping nukes. You do not want to drop nukes. But he said that. Like, so he wants to keep his job. That's 100%. He wants to keep his job. He wants everything to keep rolling, flowing smooth. And there's something to that because, you don't want to lose your money. Nobody wants to lose what they got going on. There's so many people that's been fired because they have an opinion that's against the establishment. And he knows, like, shit, I want to keep my job running. I want to keep my, my big paychecks rolling in. So, but even with censorship, it's crazy because it's a slippery slope. Once you start censoring people for, political reasons or whatever, whatever they may believe, it starts opening up holes in what you can censor. Eventually, you'll start censoring for this and try to tie, maybe even like, it doesn't even matter what it is. It doesn't even have to be political. It could be something that you just don't want to hear. You know what I mean? Negativity, anything. And you can start attaching that to the political thing and say like, oh yeah, this is the reason why. You're not allowed to have any views outside of, whatever the views that the government wants you to be spreading. You know what I mean? If you're spreading something that they're not rocking with, well, I'm going to censor you. So that's already a slippery slope when you start doing that. And like I can only speak for myself. Yes, I've been on TikTok, I've been censored. Like ever since they sold it off, they've been they sold it off to I don't know who owns it now, but I know it's in line with the government. It's really really like it's choppy. It's super choppy, and it's not as good as the experience as it when China was running it. So, and it's funny about this is because Tucker Carlson might have to watch out, because if they do start censoring people, he's going down the road of Nick Fuentes. He's going down that road. He's talking about anti-Israel and the government of Israel. He's not talking about the people. He's just talking about the government and Netanyahu. And this is the type of thing that they're trying to censor. I'm just going to be keeping it 100. Like when I do like posts, I kind of leave Israel out of it because I just don't want to have to deal with that problem. Like me saying something about Israel is going to be like, is it really is juice worth the squeeze? It's not like I'm going to make $1 million before I say it or even after I say it. So what's the point of even saying it? So I kind of steer away from that. Like I'll react to stuff that people are talking about, Israel and what they're doing, and I'll react to it, but I don't actually go out of my way and say it for myself. I'll just be like, oh, okay, yeah. The crazy thing about Trump is he only serves himself. And if he gets lucky every once in a while and maybe he'll throw the people a bone here and there, those are the type of shit that he goes crazy for. If the people have a little win, he's acting as if he's did something spectacular. This whole thing was just to enrich yourself. And if the people got a little bit of something, well, he's going to take full credit for that. But I mean, I hope at the end of the day, I hope, we're not completely censored. Especially, online. That would suck if you're completely censored. You're already censored at your work. If wherever you work, you're kind of censored there, because if you say something, you could be fired, so you have to kind of keep your cool there too. So it would suck not to have, you can't really say shit, anywhere. Like this should be your free spot where you can just vent and air your grievances out. And if you can't do that, well, it's going to be a long, windy road. So, all right, man. Well, anyways, like, follow, subscribe, bang that notification. Let's go.